Despite the completion of their own miniseries, for whatever reason, DC still did not give the Secret Six their own ongoing book. Maybe the sales of the miniseries couldn't justify it. Maybe author Gail Simone didn't have the time to write it, as she was already committed to the Birds of Prey ongoing. Maybe DC had plans in motion for some of the cast. I honestly don't know. I cannot find any kind of interview regarding the gap between the miniseries and the ongoing series. But that doesn't mean that the Secret Six are gone. Whether it was a move to keep the group alive in the minds and hearts of fans, or to hype up interest in an ongoing series, author Gail Simone worked the Six into her final arc on Birds of Prey. Given how big an impact this arc will have on the Six going forward, setting up the status quo that we'll see in the ongoing series, I had to check it out. Today, I'm breaking down Birds of Prey issues 104 through 109. My name is Ben, and this is Comic Book Breakdown episode Secret 6.3, Whitewater. Given that our focus during these past few episodes has been on the Six, I figure I should do some explaining about the Birds of Prey. The Birds were put together by editor Jordan B. Gorfinkel and author Chuck Dixon, and was originally a team-up between former Batgirl Barbara Gordon, who is now called Oracle, and the super-screaming martial artist Black Canary. Over time, the group eventually added in the Huntress, forming the narrative core of the BOP. Many more characters would join the team, the roster growing or shrinking as the story demanded. Gail Simone took the Birds over with issue 56, going on to write it until issue 108, a full 52 issues later, or over 4 years of storytelling. And that is damn impressive. Birds is most famous for 1, redeeming the crippling of Barbara Gordon during the Killing Joke graphic novel, and 2, for having such an excellently written all-female roster, and 3, being one of the few female-led books that was actually written by a woman. There are a lot more female creators in the industry today, but for a book launched in 1996, that's a rarity. Yes, it would be 2003 before Simone actually took over, but it's still quite the accomplishment. Whitewater throws us into the middle of a power struggle between Oracle and Spy Smasher, a government agent who has forced her way into the Birds of Prey's leadership structure. Oracle is not only one of their founders, but the handler for the team, feeding them intelligence in the field and keeping them safe. She's well-liked, respected, and not used to answering to anyone. And this is a woman who has dealt with Batman throughout much of her life. Spy Smasher, on the other hand, is used to being the ruthless government agent, her orders obeyed and all personal feelings put aside. They're very much opposites, and that friction runs through the arc. So what does any of this have to do with the Secret Six? Let's find out. Birds of Prey issue 104 opens at the Maiden's Tower in Istanbul, Turkey. Oracle's narration explains the legend behind the tower as a female figure dressed in winter wear ascends it. This mystery woman has a very large carrying case with her, like a misshapen guitar case. When she reaches the top, a calm linked voice says, "Paper bag." The woman copies that. When asked if she can handle the single digits Celsius cold, she shrugs it off. She'll feel her toes later. We're being told 2 things with this single-page scene. The first is that this mystery woman is tough, both physically and mentally. The cold doesn't bother her because she has a job to do. Simple as that. The second... I'm actually not sure what the second is. The story that Simone relates is that the tower was built to imprison the daughter of a 12th century Shah, or king, who fell in love with a peasant. The Shah then told her that he had her peasant boy love killed. In her grief, the princess threw herself from the tower and died. Of course, that's when her lover arrived, too late, and so he also jumped from the tower, and then they both died. Oracle points out that the Russians have a weird take on a happy ending, but why does Simone point this out? While this does lend some interesting background to our setting, we don't need to know this. Is this foreshadowing a doomed romance? Or perhaps a depressing yet happy ending to this arc? I hope we find out. The next page shifts us back in time 2 days, and we see the birds returning home on their plane. Their pilot, Zinda, informs Oracle that they're about 30 minutes out and of her intention of getting some drinks once they've landed. Oracle is glad to hear from her, Zinda being a constant in the changes that they've seen recently. Black Canary left to spend time with the little girl that she's hoping to adopt, Sin, but the second the Justice League called her, Canary jumped to them, which stings a bit. Of course, there's the business with Spy Smasher, which understandably bugs Oracle. There's also the teleporting misfit, described as a slightly ditzy teen who is forcing her way on missions. Thankfully, Helena, or the Huntress, is still around to keep things on a sane level. Misfit, wearing the most cosplay costume that I've ever seen in a superhero book, looks at their final member asking if she should be leaking. The camera spins around to reveal Barda, a super strong warrior woman from Apocalypse. She has at least 3 bullets lodged in her, but they don't seem to bother her. Zinda attempts to change course for a hospital, but Barda talks her down. Give her a set of pliers or a knife, some wire, and a towel for the blood. She'll be fine. Wow. Huntress offers Barda one of her arrows, and that will do the trick nicely. As she goes to work, Oracle asks Huntress if she's actually okay. And yeah, Barda is disturbingly calm about it, but she seems to know what she's doing. Oracle is relieved to hear it. She then tells Huntress that Spy Smasher is calling at least some of the shots for now. This woman threatened to ruin Oracle's father's career and potentially his health. For those unfamiliar, that's Jim Gordon of Gotham City PD. Already not liking Spy Smasher, Huntress asks if there's a plan to remove her. Oracle doesn't have one, and honestly, she doesn't think that Smasher will go down easily. Until they do have a plan, they're going to need to run a few missions for her. But it's not all bad news. If they complete this first mission, Smasher will absolve Huntress's obligation to checkmate. This shocks Huntress. She can do that? She certainly can, Oracle returns. She explains that they're going to go to Metropolis for supplies and to pick up some operatives. Oh, and they need to drop Misfit off at home. Where they're going is no place for her. Where are they going? We'll talk about that in a minute. Obviously, the purpose of that scene is to catch up both the cast and the audience up on recent events. Even without reading anything that came before this issue, I now know the basic gist of what's going on and Oracle's relationship with these other women. She trusts Huntress above all others, she finds Misfit frustrating, and she's not sure about Barda in general, indicating that she's likely new to the team. All of this is overshadowed by her dislike of Spy Smasher and her lack of an option here. Smasher's ability to remove Huntress's obligation to checkmate demonstrates how influential this woman is. Checkmate is a superhero policing agency and evidently has something on the Huntress. If Smasher can do that, then she really has some pull. The birds are next in Baku, capital of the former Soviet Republic of Azerbaijan. It's home to a lot of former communist military and ex-KGB profiteers who are making cash money in the new democratic parliament. They are in the palatial estate of Soviet loyalist General Fyodor Kerimov, a man well into his 50s/60s. Kerimov wants to see a socialist government back in charge of Russia, and he's sold drugs, trafficked people throughout the world, and done even worse to make that happen. Both the Huntress, who I'll now call by her real name Helena while she's out of uniform, and Barda are attending a party there. They're both dressed to the nines and looking good, fending off middle-aged men at every turn. Alexander Kriot steps forward, claiming Helena and Barda as his bodyguards. Kriot used to be Russian military, apparently, as both men congratulate the other on their various successes. Barda questions Kriot's loyalties because of this, but Oracle vouches for him. He's proven himself before. He can be trusted. 11 kilometers away, Spy Smasher shares Barda's suspicions. She warns Oracle about using her rather short leash wisely and orders Barda to watch Kriot. They need to get the item and then get to the rendezvous point. That is their main concern. Zinda looks over to Spy Smasher. She knew the real Spy Smasher back during the war. Then she turns away, telling her that he wouldn't have liked this Smasher very much. I love how blatantly forward Zinda is with her dislike of Smasher, but still maintains the idea that it isn't her. Oh, the real Spy Smasher would have thought you were a jerk, but not me. I didn't say that, just thought you should know, okay, bye. Inside, at the party, a sandy-haired, very handsome man approaches Helena and asks her to dance. Kind of flabbergasted, she accepts and casually gets his name. Thomas Blake. A picture of Catman appears on Oracle's wall of screens. Uh-oh. The Secret Six have been hired by Karamov to handle security. Simone then shows Scandal and Knockout dancing, the pair keeping an eye on Catman. Loughton tugs at his collar, a cigarette wedged between his lips, as he informs Ragdoll that Karamov is about to show the item. Doll is outside in their ride, indignant about being left behind. As the least normal-looking of the six, it makes sense to leave Ragdoll somewhere that suspicious eyes won't see him. Blake is really laying on the charm here. As they begin to dance, he tells Helena that he believes that if two people meet during a waltz, then they're bound forever. Even after learning of his identity from Oracle, Helena continues to dance with him. She asks why he's there, trying to get some intelligence, and Blake manages to dodge the question. He compliments her on her fragrance, leans into her neck, and licks it? Caught totally off guard, surprised and disgusted, Helena tells him to get lost and storms off. Blake tries to explain that it was instinct, he wasn't trying to be a creep, but she leaves nonetheless. Scandal and Knockout slide up next to him. Too much woman for you, Blake? Blake tells them to watch their employer, not his failing sex life. He goes to the snack table to console himself with some food when a meatball smacks him in the back of his head. He turns to find Helena, who asks if he's up for another waltz. Blake promises her a dance after Karamov finishes his speech. While Helena and Blake were fighting, Oracle was doing some reading. Simone may have shown us the six, but the readers of Birds of Prey probably don't know the team. So after visually introducing them and giving us a chance to fall in love with a Huntress/Catman ship, she has Oracle look at their files. One in particular stands out. Knockout. As a fellow escapee from Apocalypse Warrior Woman, Knockout could possibly recognize Barda and blow the whole mission. This information is being relayed as Karamov makes his big speech. Democracy is bad, it sucks, but he's acquired the solution. With the financial support of his guests, Karamov will be able to restore Russia to its former glory using this. And he reveals an Iron Man-esque suit of armor, the Rocket Red armor. Oracle isn't impressed by this reveal. In fact, she's confused. You can find the schematics for that armor online, it's no big deal. She also tells us that the last pilot died a hero about a year ago, and that version of the Justice League has been racking up the deaths. Rocket Red, Ice, Sudibny. Her musings, though, are cut short as Knockout spots Barda. Barda draws her Mega Rod, a high-tech rod that can teleport people, propel her into the air, or release energy blasts, and smashes it up Knockout's face. She then grabs the armor and jumps out of a window. Loughton fires after her, but doesn't appear to hit her. Helena turns to Blake, offering her own theory about people bound by waltzes and meatballs. Namely, that regrets are for losers. She pulls him in for a kiss and then runs off. Criote follows close behind and is given driving duties. At the Maiden's Tower, Oracle signals her agent. The birds are escaping in a van, although the six are hot on their tails in a sporty red car. Loughton continues to shoot, swearing that he tagged Barda, but in the next scene she's fine. She informs Oracle that they can't teleport out. Knockout would be able to trace it with her mother box. But that's okay. Oracle has a safe house for them. They just need to ditch their tail. She signals her agent at the Maiden's Tower again. The six, minus Scandal, now that I think about it, where is she at, are bickering as they give chase. In the background, we can see a winged figure closing in, the tower in the distance behind her. Knockout is the only one who sees Hawkgirl and her mace, shoving Catman and Deadshot's heads down. Hawkgirl's mace tears through the car, just missing the two men in the front, but managing to throw Knockout from it. She and the car separate, both of them slamming into trees. Sweet reveal of Hawkgirl. Hawkgirl laments the loss of that beautiful sports car, so Oracle promises her one of them if the team gets back safely. At first, Hawkgirl thinks that she's joking, but no, she is serious. Comes in cranberry, indigo, crimson sunset, and frost. Hawkgirl smiles. She likes how Oracle works. The six have survived their accidents, although Ragdoll is pinned inside the car. Deadshot aims at Hawkgirl, but his head is still ringing. He can't aim straight. Catman swears. So they lost the target. Great. That's when Scandal streaks by on a motorcycle, her lamentation blades extended. She's on the van's trail, promising to kill those who hit Knockout last. As the birds continue to escape, it occurs to Barda that the rocket red suit might not be empty. For all they know, there could be a freaking bomb inside. Helena says that they're committed to this, so she may as well open it. Using skills learned from her escape artist husband, Barda picks the locks and reveals the formerly dead superheroine Ice. As someone who isn't a big DC fan, I have to admit, this final page reveal falls pretty flat for me. While Simone does a great job setting up the world of the birds and investing me in their narrative, I simply have no knowledge of or love for Ice. Beyond the fact that she pretty clearly has ice powers, which are my personal favorite type of powers, that is. While I still want to know what Karamov was planning, how Ice is apparently not dead, and what happens next, this reveal was just more confusing than exciting for me personally. This reveal is why Simone had Babs mention Ice being dead during the initial rocket reveal. Even if you're lacking all character detail, at least you know that this woman should be dead. Short of some holdover story elements like the drama with Spy Smasher, Simone balances everything well. And given the fact that there are, let me count, almost 15 characters with speaking lines, personalities, and stories to get across, I am super impressed. Obviously, having the birds start a new job plays into that, giving us an easy in to the narrative. The Secret Six make a good foil for the birds too. Both teams are fairly human, both have strong ties amongst the team members, and both are willing to cross some lines. The six are just willing to cross more. The relationship between Helena and Blake is one of the reasons that I felt this run had to get added to my six collection. There are some other elements that carry forward as well, and we'll cover those when we get to them, but I remember reading issue 7 of the Secret Six ongoing series and being really confused. Huntress and Catman appeared to know one another, and this story is why. I'm still a bit annoyed at Gail Simone making Catman so sexy that even Huntress is floored by him, but what can you do? He's just got that animal magnetism. Him licking her neck was hilarious and embarrassing, but still oddly cute? To me, at least? Was it just me? While the rest of the six are largely background in this particular installment, they are in character, and I love them all. Simone highlighting the connection between Knockout and Barda is smart, something that we'll see continue through this arc. The dialogue between the team feels natural, is appropriate, lovingly dysfunctional. Joining Gail Simone for this is penciler Nicholas Scott, inker Doug Hazelwood, and colors by Hi-Fi. Nicholas Scott is, simply put, one of the best. Her characters are decently realistic. She takes the time to not just draw faces, but shape them. She draws everyone on model, there are consistent backgrounds and small details, and I just love it. When Helena is talking to Oracle over her comm piece, which is an earring, it sparkles or lights up to indicate that that's happening. Scott doesn't play around with panel details or page layouts all that much, preferring to just stick to squares and rectangles. She doesn't break panel borders very often, only doing perhaps 3 panelless shots in the whole issue. But when you execute this well, who gives a crap? Some artists break rules in order to stand out. Nicholas Scott stands out by following the rules and executing anyways. Her character moments are great, too. When Zinda insults Spy Smasher, Scott does 3 repeating panels. It's basically the same panel, but the expression on the women's faces is all that changes, selling their conversation. You're allowed to focus on the delivery and the reaction, hitting home that insult. Similarly, just before Hawkgirl strikes, Scott sets up 4 panels on one page. The basic layout remains the same. A shot of the Six's car, Ragdoll complaining, Deadshot and Catman bickering in the front, and in the background there's a small shot of Hawkgirl. With each panel she gets closer and larger before finally smashing the roof off. It's a super good set of shots, and I cannot praise her enough. Really, I could probably spend an hour gushing about my love for how this book looks, so let's move on before I get lost doing that. As fun as that would be. Issue 105 opens in a flashback. General Karamov narrates a very Cliff Notes version of Grigory Rasputin's life. He recounts the healing of Alexei, the only son of Tsar Nicholas II and his wife, the Tsaritsa Alexandra. He also tells the tale of his death, poisoned by cyanide, shot in the back, shot 3 more times as he fled, then he was beaten, stabbed, wrapped in a sheet, and thrown in a river. Despite everything that was done to kill him, forensics seem to indicate that Rasputin died by drowning. The gentleman with Karamov descends an enormous staircase, appreciating the story, but unsure as to why he's being told it. A group of cloaked figures grabs the man and presses a knife to his throat. Surely this guy knows about Rasputin's many affairs, and how many bastards out there owe their existence to that lust? The knife is pulled across the man's throat, Karamov appreciating his contribution to the cause. The body falls to the floor, landing in a pentagram of wheat. The man who did the killing is Lieutenant Terasov, and he cleans the blade. Karamov orders him to prepare the ceremony and asks after their stolen property. They have a heading on the thieves, but they've lost track of the Secret Six. Karamov orders Terasov to activate the Rocket Reds. If the Six have failed them, then let's make sure to kill them all. The Six, minus Scandal, are assessing their situation after their encounter with Hawkgirl. They're beaten, their party clothes are torn and shredded, and Ragdoll has a rib poking out. But they are up and active, Catman trying to find the right set of tracks. There are tracks, but there are multiple tracks, and the snowfall isn't helping. Loughton gives him some crap about flirting with Helena, but Knockout presses. Can he track the thieves? And Catman replies that he can. Ragdoll, wanting to be in his best for this, suggests a costume change. Catman seconds that, positing that they change and have their newest member get them some wheels. They'll then meet with Scandal and finish the job. Knockout agrees to the plan, but she claims Barda as her target. The team calls Scandal and tells her what's up. She agrees, following the birds right now, but she won't interfere with them. The birds are aware of Scandal tailing them, though. Barda calls Oracle for some advice, and she suggests GTFO. Meet with Zinda and get back to their base. Spy Smasher smashes that order, though. If they're followed back, it could blow the whole operation. They are to go to the safe house, and Spy will meet them there. She heads further inside their plane and allies with another costume operative, Manhunter. Oh, and don't think that Oracle is going to overlook that countermanding, Spy. The Six's latest edition pulls up as they're changing, revealed to be one Harley Quinn. This is before she wore booty shorts and small t-shirts and old jackets. This is pure 100% Paul Dini Harley Quinn. And I like it. I'm not much of a Harley Quinn fan, but I have to say, if I'm getting any iteration of Harley Quinn, then I want this version. Oracle has Hawkgirl try and stop Scandal so that the rest can escape. She easily grabs Scandal off of her bike, but then easy goes out the window. Scandal starts a swinging, dislodging Hawkgirl's helmet and then cutting through one of her wings. They slam into the ground, but neither woman is ready to quit yet. Both of them are pissed off and charge each other in the snow. This is one of those short yet brutal scenes that says so much. The birds are pulling their punches in this conflict, unsure of how seriously they need to take the Six. This causes Hawkgirl to underestimate Scandal, and she pays for it. Scandal doesn't speak at all during their tussle, letting her actions speak for her. Remember, she swore to kill the one who struck Knockout, and at this point we've seen her torture Pistolera and attempt to kill her father. I wouldn't put gutting a hawk person beneath her. I'm not sure if it was in the script or if it was an idea from artist Nicholas Scott, but Scandal's punch moves Hawkgirl's helmet. This is a realistic touch that I appreciate, making Hawk's costume feel real and practical. Once it's crooked and she has a chance, Hawkgirl yanks it off and throws it away, anger overriding her good sense. Scandal, meanwhile, is calm and quiet, ready to go. Ending with a cutaway is a bit frustrating, as this was shaping up to be a great fight, but I'm confident that we'll be back. Coyote, Huntress, Barda, and an unconscious Ice arrive at their rendezvous point. They're met by Spy's contact, Irat, who offers to hide their van and provide a new transport. Barda brings Ice inside, who is starting to come around, and this causes their contact and his allies to jump. One of them refers to Ice as the Miracle, while another calls her a goddess. The contact manages to contain himself, although he is clearly surprised by this, and suggests that they get her inside quickly. Hawkgirl and Scandal are both bloody, beaten, and showing their exhaustion, but neither is done yet. Hawk tackles Scandal, throwing her into the road, and a car stops just shy of hitting them. At the safe house, Huntress posits a question to their host, Irat. It basically boils down to, what the crap, man? Irat explains that Karamov was a butcher, a demon. He killed for power, but that power was never enough to satisfy him. The rocket armor was modified to be life support and a prison for Ice. He leans over her, almost spellbound and starstruck, and the hair hiding his forehead parts. Huntress immediately recognizes a barbed wire forehead tattoo, a sign of life without parole in Russian prisons. Only the worst kind of murderer gets that tattoo. She draws a pistol and forces him back, which is when Spy Smasher arrives. She has 2 pistols drawn on Huntress, reminding her that her orders are to be followed, and she will fire upon her. Barda then volunteers to rip Spy's arms off, but Manhunter moves to block her. Listening to all of this spin wildly out of control, Oracle tells Huntress and Barda to grab Ice, get to Zinda, and bounce the hell out of there. But they never get a chance. Catman offers the birds a deal from outside the house. Just give them back what was stolen, that crappy piece of armor, and they're free to go. Easy and peasy. If not, then they fight. This gets Barda pumped. She is ready for an honest-to-God fight. But Huntress tries to talk Catman down, aware of how cold-blooded these mercenaries can be and how many lives are on the line. She goes to a window and says that they don't need to fight. The final page is a glorious group shot of the 6, finally in costume and at full strength. Catman says that if they don't fight, the knockout will just twist Hawkgirl's head off. So, time to fight. Now hang on, what was that? When Catman first talks to the birds, he tells them to turn over the armor and they can go free. Admittedly, Helena's offer of negotiation would probably include them not getting the armor back. Although, hang on. They pulled Ice out of the armor, but they didn't destroy the armor or anything, and the 6 don't know what was in it. Why not just close the armor and give it to the 6, who would then return it to Karamov, thus buying the birds time to escape with Ice? And from just a writing perspective, why have Catman offer them a way out, Helena pursue a way out, but then have Catman just say, nah, screw that, we need to fight? Not that it's preferable, not that it's necessary, but that they want to. I also think that this is the 3rd time that Knockout has either offered or threatened to twist someone's head off. Must be an apocalypse thing. This issue is all about escalation. Yes, we do have the growing threat of Karamov. He kills a guy right at the beginning, demonstrating how ruthless and literally bloodthirsty that he is. Yes, we do have the mystery of Ice, and now know that the rocket armor was keeping her alive. And yes, we also have the 6 finally gathered and wielding a hostage. But the real drama here is the conflict between Oracle and Spy Smasher. Where before there was a slight annoyance, now Smasher is countering Oracle's orders, allying with potentially dangerous men, and has her own asset in the form of Manhunter on the team. The birds work well because they trust Oracle, not because they're soldiers skilled at taking orders. But no one trusts Spy Smasher, save perhaps Manhunter, and this group can't really operate that way. This is contrasted against the Six, who are aligned in the same purpose and working towards a common goal. Even when Helena offers peace, Catman isn't having it, and only minutes ago he was trying to bed her. The Six are written in character, picking on each other like little kids, but they also trust each other and like each other more than anyone else. This unites their unit, as opposed to the fractured group that the Birds are presenting. I loved seeing Scandal's quiet, efficient moves during her fight with Hawkgirl, too. We didn't get to see a lot of that fight, but just seeing the damage that Hawkgirl took says a lot. Issue 106 opens at Oracle's base, where she's trying to come up with a plan to accomplish the mission and save her friends. Behind her is Misfit, the obnoxious teenager who can teleport anywhere. The Birds dropped her off when they stopped at Metropolis, so Oracle is now basically babysitting too. But, as Huntress presses for a plan, Oracle can only ask if she thinks they can take the Six. Okay, so no plan. Huntress then turns to Spy Smasher for her plan. She suggests killing the gun guy, Deathpool, Deadhead, first. This doesn't impress Huntress, who then next turns to Barda. She's surprised to find her fully armored up and ready to go. Quick change is apparently something she can do, and Barda affixes a set of flying discs to her feet. Helena says that she's going to change before the fight as well. Barda scoffs. What fight? She replies with a smile. There are only 6 of them. She pulls out her mega rod and smashes through the wall. Knockout stares at her, commenting that this will be better than sex. I don't know about that, but to each their own, I suppose. Then Barda slams into Knockout, into the Bird's van, and out through its other side. Helena tells Irat and his men to escape, the whole question of his loyalty thrown out the window. She then asks Creote to watch over Ice while the fight goes down. Then she goes to change, only realizing that Creote's still watching after a minute. She tells him to look away despite being gay, and he gives her this cute, "Really? I don't care," kind of look. But he looks away, and Huntress, Manhunter, and Spy Smasher join the fight. At Oracle's, she tells Huntress to get everyone back safe, even if it means killing. Huntress is surprised by this, as Oracle has been encouraging her to go non-lethal. But Oracle knows that the Six have some killers, most notably Deadshot, and she wants to make sure that her friends get back alive. While she's doing this, Misfit have realized that there are 6 bad guys and only 5 good guys. So she teleports, Scott pulling the camera in close on Oracle's face, then pulling back out for the reveal. Just what this fight needed! An unarmed, untrained teenager. Great! Thankfully for her, Misfit ends up fighting Harley, so at least they're about even in maturity level. Catman and Huntress fight, although Catman's heart is not in it. Spy Smasher takes Deadshot, Manhunter is wrapped in Ragdoll, Scandal goes back against Hawkgirl, while Barda and Knockout continue to fight. Barda breaks Knockout's arm over her shoulder, but then she kicks Barda's knee out in return. While both are invested in this fight, they seem too evenly matched for a clear winner. Huntress and Catman end up falling down a ridge and upon one another, because of course they do, and there's a moment where they flirt. But Huntress jams a pair of arrows into his leg. She can't have him in this fight. Oh, and she only likes nice guys. Spy Smasher ends up going hand-to-hand with Deadshot, nullifying the advantage of his guns. As they struggle, Spy knocks his hand aside just as he fires, and the bullet hits Scandal in the back. To Hawkgirl's credit, she immediately stops fighting, shouting for anyone to hear that Scandal is dying. Before anyone can react, though, something drastic happens. When the fighting began in earnest, Oracle told Creote to get Ice out of there. But her breathing was shallow and her pupils were dilated. Creote wasn't even sure that she was actually alive right then. They might have harmed her by pulling her out of that armor. Oracle sympathizes with his fears, but she knows that Creote can't carry her out of Azerbaijani over his shoulder. He needs to wake her up and get her out no matter what. So he starts slapping her face, hoping that she'll wake up. A quick and fortuitous cut to Karamov reveals that he used Rasputin's dark magic to resurrect Ice. His plan seems to have been to use Ice to reawaken the love of Russia in his countrymen. If he then controlled Ice, he would control the people, and they would do whatever he wanted. He relates this to Lieutenant Tarasov as he approaches a glorious ice sculpture at his party. He pulls out a pistol and shoots it, and Kriot is caught off guard as Ice awakens. Her eyes glow blue, and she grabs his hand. Enough. A towering giantess of ice materializes above the farmhouse as Ice steps outside. She demands to know who of these soon-to-be-dead killers killed her. Ragdoll indignantly sighs. Oh, now we're all gonna die for a crime none of us committed. I hope you're all happy. So last issue's escalation explodes into open conflict here. It all reads well. The combat pairings are fitting, allowing Simone to explore her cast well. Knockout continues to fight Barda even after Scandal is shot, which has me worried. Deadshot and Spy are practical pragmatists, just with different masters. Spy fights for her country and the greater good. Deadshot fights for money and his personal good. The only real problem that I have at this point is how background Karamov and his plan are. Yes, saving Ice is a great side effect of stopping Karamov, but that's the goal. No one knows why Karamov has Ice, or how he brought her back, or what his particular goal is. We're told some vague bullshit about Rasputin's magic and using Ice to control the country, but, how does that work? And sure, the Six are a huge obstacle, but I'm starting to feel like we're missing the point by fighting them. And honestly, the Six are mercenaries. Why doesn't Oracle just offer to buy them off? Sure, there's always the chance that there is honor amongst thieves and that they turn her down, but why not at least try it? I could see Deadshot at least being willing to back off if he was paid enough. None of this is personal like it was against Cheshire or Vandal Savage. Throw some money at them, save Ice, arrest or beat up Karamov, and call it a day. Done. I'm still digging this overall and still loving Scott's artwork, but yeah, the thought is starting to get stuck in my craw. I hope that Simone brings this back around and delivers some, as Misfit would say, dark vengeance upon Karamov. But this particular story only has one issue left, so yeah, I'm starting to get nervous. We open issue 107 where we left off. Scandal is shot, folks are fighting, Ice is up and about with an ice giantess on her side. In the smack dab of this, Harley calls for a timeout. Stop this senseless violence! She forgot which side she should be fighting on. In the lull, Spy contacts Oracle, informing her of Ice's hostile attitude. She also tells her that she might have to kill her. There is no way that Spy will leave power like that to the Russian military. Underneath his mask, Deadshot smiles. He likes a woman who thinks like he does. Tired of waiting for an answer for her question, Ice unleashes her golem on the assembled cast, smashing the bird's van even further. That poor van. It was just a van. It didn't deserve this treatment. Catman approaches Huntress, who holds her crossbow on him. Look, they didn't know that the thing they were supposed to protect was a kidnapped woman. They wouldn't just leave her to be used as a weapon either. They're killers, sure, but they aren't bad people. He proposes a truce, and Huntress warily agrees. They turn their attention to their teams, who are still fighting. Catman explains that they're probably all idiots. At Karamov's estate, he has received word that Ice has awakened. He wipes away tears, explaining to Tarasov that he has pancreatic cancer. It will kill him, and so he's been searching for a way to redeem himself, to clear the butcher off of his name. And now he has given his country a goddess once more. But she'll need guidance. His guidance. He orders Tarasov to take him to her. At the battlefield, the Rocket Reds finally show up, at least 7 of them. They order everyone to stand down, or they will open fire. Huntress and Catman try to stop their teams, but Barda and Knockout are too lost in their fight to listen. So Huntress goes to Ice, slapping her, begging her to come to her senses. Oracle suggests a question to her, so Huntress asks, Would Guy Gardner want to see her like this? Ice freezes. Pun intended, baby! Guy's name catching in her brain. Which is when the rockets open fire. Huntress pushes Ice down, saving her from gunfire, and everyone shifts focus. Held aloft by Hawkgirl, Scandal slashes into the rockets. Catman jump kicks one, which is pretty impressive given his leg wound, and Ice turns her golem against another one. Ice is finally back in control of herself. Huntress reports this development back to Oracle, who is glad to hear of it, and then she turns to Spy Smasher. Why didn't she just tell them that this was a rescue mission? Spy didn't know if they would go for something like this. After all, she doesn't really trust them either. She tells Huntress that she isn't a monster. She does have feelings. She loves her country, after all, and that country needs her. For those not aware, Ice was in a relationship with fellow superhero Guy Gardner, one of Earth's many Green Lanterns. That's why his name hits her so acutely, and I think it's adorable. But it isn't all sunshine and snow. Tarasov and Karamov pull up, the old man rushing quickly over to Ice. He falls to his knees, worshipping her, and tries to get her to turn on the assembled costumes. Huntress tells her not to listen to him. He's a butcher. But whatever Karamov did to resurrect her has some kind of lingering power. Her eyes blank out, and she seems to listen to him for a moment. Then a bullet bursts out the side of his head. Deadshot looks at Hawkgirl, who is outraged. What? He clearly had a gun. That was just self-defense. When she says otherwise, he shrugs in return. Fine, then it was murder. Who cares? Catman turns to Huntress. Does this mean the truce is over? And yeah, she's trying to make better decisions, so the six decide to bounce before someone remembers that they're criminals. But first, they need to find Knockout. She is nearby, having finally reached a stalemate with Barda. The other woman offers her a hand, complimenting her and calling her a sister. As the six head to their car, Harley tells Ragdoll about how well she seems to be fitting in on the team. He agrees, then asks her for a short walk near a tall wall or a short cliff. Dark, Mrs. Simone. And too soon. I miss you, Hatter. Lady Blackhawk, which is the formal name of Zinda, rolls up in a new van, hopefully one suited to a better life than the last, happy to pull the team out of the fire. But Spy Smasher is outraged. She was ordered to stay with the plane. Leaving it could endanger the whole mission. Zinda argues back, having flown as a naval pilot in World War II. Yeah, it's a time travel thing, don't worry about it. So, Spy fires her. At first Zinda is shocked, then she's hurt. Her face hardens, and in a nice full-page image, she decks Spy in the face. Spy hits the ground and then goes for her pistols, but Zinda is faster. She has her two guns trained on Spy first. Zinda then tells her to shove it, thanks Huntress for being a solid friend, and then she walks away. Spy Smasher tries to explain to Huntress how important it is that her orders are followed while they're in the field, but Huntress has no interest in that. She tells Spy that if she talks to her one time before they're in Metropolis, she'll knock every tooth right the hell out of her head. And for once, Spy listens to her. She heads to the cockpit, since they're down a pilot, which gives Huntress a chance to call Oracle. Helena basically tells Oracle that she trusts her. She knows her, but she cannot let this kind of crap stand. She rolled right over for Spy Smasher, and now she's letting her friends take it for her. She should have stood up for Zinda. Metaphorically. And don't be pissed at me for that joke, Simone uses it. The whole conversation, Scott stays away from close-ups of Oracle. She takes the berating, checks in on Ice, pours a cup of coffee, and then grabs a pair of billy clubs. She asks Huntress to quietly ask Manhunter a question, and once they've landed, tells Spy Smasher that she needs to talk to her. That was fast-paced, but it was satisfying. Okay, let me take a second. The conflict between the Six and the Birds is well done. I like that characters like Catman and Huntress, or Hawkgirl and Scandal, ally pretty easily. But then Misfit and Harley and Ragdoll and Manhunter are so upset with their enemy that they won't stop their particular fights. And Barda and Knockout are so high on their fight that they don't care about anything else. Even when their battle takes them through ice into freezing water, they still fight. This is an amazing display of writing, managing to balance all of these characters, have them all react to both their enemy and their situation without breaking the flow of the narrative. The only time that the gears really shift is when a Huntress asks about Irate, and that's intentional. The conflict over military property has evolved into a human being, shifting the problem to ice. Then the problem shifts from ice to Karamov, so the change in tone works. I'm also super pleased with both Karamov's motivation and his end. While his cancer makes us want to sympathize with him, as does his hunger for redemption, then his desire to control ice cancels that out. He's still a jerk. And I love that almost the last thing that he hears is Huntress saying, "This guy is a butcher!" And then pop! Tarasov and the surviving Rocket drop out immediately after that, but they know better than to press the point by now. Tarasov expressed some light reticence in working for Karamov back in issue 105 under fear of death, so I can see him just GTFOing as soon as possible. I also appreciate that Ice takes the General's death hard. It's a small moment, only a panel of quiet sadness, but it's enough to show how nice Tora is. The birds continually call Tora the nicest person they knew, before she died that is, so I like her being upset about the murder, even if it saved her autonomy. Having jumped right into this book, I have little knowledge of Spy Smasher. Simone clearly set up the rescue of Ice to win over our goodwill towards Spy Smasher. I mean, who reads superhero comics and doesn't love a rescue mission? I don't particularly buy that Spy didn't trust them with the knowledge of Ice's existence, though. After all, if they were successful, they would have found out about Ice anyway. I mean, just look, they were an hour into the mission, and they discovered Ice. So what was the point of hiding her situation? I could see "I needed to see how you would react to compartmentalized information while in the field" type of thing, or perhaps "I wanted to see what you would do regardless of what happened" over a general "I just don't trust you." But then, just as we're beginning to like her, Spy turns around and fires Zinda, gut-punching us. And over something like leaving the jet behind? How's that risking the mission? Spy fires her because she refused to follow her orders, and that's all. This was a power play, and it looks like Oracle won't take it anymore. And while I, and I think the birds to a certain degree on this mission, appreciate Spy's goal, this is not the way to go about this relationship. She's waltzing into a group of loosely allied vigilantes and expecting military discipline. What did she expect? They are worst-case mercenaries and best-case friends and allies. Of course they're going to fight your control. And now, so is Oracle. And man, am I looking forward to seeing that. Before that, though, issue 108 opens on the Secret Six. It basically picks up on them leaving the farmhouse/battlefield, gingerly escorting the wounded to their car. Catman and Deadshot quip, summing up their version of the past few issues. Catman then notices a note in his belt. From Huntress. She explains that she's trying to only date nice guys, so he should look her up when he is one. Aww. If you listened to the Villains United episode of the podcast, then you know that Catman, and through him the rest of the six, are struggling with their moral core. Catman tends to lead slightly more heroic than villainous, while characters like Deadshot or Ragdoll seem to lead more villainous than heroic. Having Helena pick up on Blake's struggle and encouraging him to do the right thing is a great little piece of motivation. Piled into the car, Harley turns on the radio, but they don't get music. Instead, someone tells them that they've sent satellite footage of Karamov's murder to the police and Russian intelligence. Murder is still murder, even if you killed a butcher a-hole. This is clearly Oracle trying to both appease her conscience and still giving the Six a chance to escape. It's a cute moment that helps contrast how every bird on the scene of the killing just accepted it. Harley then tells the others that she's quitting. And honestly, while it's been cute Harley, I'm pretty okay with that. Harley brought no new skills, abilities, equipment, or personality to the team that wasn't already there. Sure, she was offbeat and vaguely funny and cute, but, we've got Ragdoll for that. And he has the bonus of being slightly disturbing, so the win definitely goes to Doll from me on that one. Harley doesn't even have a weapon in this fight. It's good that she fought Misfit the whole time, because Harley was pretty unnecessary for this mission. So why use Harley at all? She isn't necessary to the plot. She has no interesting or revealing conversations or relationships amongst the six themselves. But she's also kind of a good fit for their tone. She's a criminal, but not like a mass murderer. Despite her selfishness, she's a fairly likable and friendly character, but she's also just off-kilter enough to shout lines about being confused as to who her alliance is with. I do think she's an appropriate fit for the six, but Simone doesn't do anything with her, and I think that's intentional. As I said before, this particular story has something like 15 characters up and about doing things, and that is a lot to juggle and write appropriately. If she had focused on the introduction of Harley, and how she messes with the team, and what unique traits she brings, that could easily throw off this narrative. Remember, while my particular focus here is on the Secret Six, this is the Birds of Prey's comic, and this is their story, so they should have the main focus. How and why Harley got added to the six isn't important to the story, only that she's there. To me, she's there to be member number 6 of the Secret Six. Hard to have a team with a number in it if you don't have that number of members on the team. The Birds of Prey are on their way home, Huntress asking Manhunter that question that Oracle asked her to. Spy Smasher hears this and calls them both to the cockpit. Huntress doesn't like the way that Spy summoned her, saying plainly that she doesn't work for her. Spy apologizes, but in that way that means that she isn't apologizing, and explains that Huntress will get used to her. Huntress says once again, "We don't work for you." Spy Smasher insists, though. "You do." She has tried to be nice about this, and Huntress might not like it, but yes, she does work for Spy Smasher. At least until she says otherwise. The birds drop Ice off with Checkmate, then return to the Maiden Tower. Oh, is that why Simone had Oracle relate the story of the Maiden's Tower in issue 104? Both of these locations are named Maiden's Tower? I'm not sure how that metaphor works, though. Is Barbara, the princess in that story, doomed to die unloved? And if so, who is her love that will die as well? Is Batman supposed to be the father figure? Or Jim Gordon? Am I trying to read too much into what was probably just some local flavor? Who knows? Oracle narrates the tying of loose ends. She arranged for Zinda to get transport after she walked off. They got Ice to somewhere safe, and now, wearing a Batgirl t-shirt, she is prepared to face Spy Smasher. Spy enters the room with Huntress and Manhunter, a file in her hand. She brings a small gift, but it's not much. She fails to relate what that is, though, as the two women suddenly flank her, dropping into combat stances. Oracle offers Spy a deal, or rather, a duel. They are going to fight for control of the birds. Spy scoffs at this. She already has control of the birds, thank you very much, and she has no interest in beating a cripple. Spy turns to leave, dismissing all of this garbage, but Manhunter tags her in the leg with her electrified staff. She explains that the proper term is differently abled. Still reeling, Huntress grabs Spy's guns off of her. She smiles at her. "You wanted the ruthless agents, right? So okay, if that's how it is, she'll fight." Spy approaches Oracle and takes 2 quick hits, one to the stomach and one to the face. Spy counters by tackling her, knocking Oracle from her wheelchair. She smashes Oracle's glasses on her face and then backhands her with a fist. As Oracle expected. Spy wraps her hands around Oracle's throat, so Oracle punches her electrical burn. Once, then twice. Pain explodes in Spy's head, nearly knocking her out, but Oracle doesn't let up. She delivers 3 quick hits, pop, 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 and ends by dropping her fists right onto Spy's face. As she reels from that, Oracle crawls to her chair. Spy gets up, complimenting Oracle on her showing in the fight, but her friends have abandoned her. And come morning, Spy will ensure that Oracle is out. This whole operation is hers, every last damn operative. She opens the exit and finds a 4-page spread of Oracle's friends. Not operatives, not agents, her friends. 24 heroes, and some sort of villains like Catwoman, stand against Spy Smasher, including Black Canary, founding member of the Birds of Prey. Spy Smasher tries to keep up her tough facade, but Black Canary sees right through it. She calmly explains that this is over. She's done here. She is going to leave, get some medical attention for that beating that she just took, and forget all about this. And if she doesn't, Black Canary will, quote, undo you, starting with the little bones at your ankles, unquote. Canary helps her into a helicopter, and then that's it. She's gone. So here's the thing. I like this as an end to Spy Smasher's story. The conflict with Spy centers around how she uses people. Her goal actually aligned with the birds, saving ice. But she lied about the mission, was an overall jerk to everyone there, and didn't appreciate any of them, going so far as to fire Zinda for just being helpful. Oh, and constantly threatened everyone with whatever she could get away with. Spy looks at Oracle's operation and likes what she sees, but she can't and doesn't run it how Oracle does. It works for Oracle because she cares about these people, their lives and feelings, and so she supports them. They, in turn, support her. This is exemplified here. Tired of seeing her friends mistreated, Oracle gives Spy the boot. Or rather the fist, I suppose, standing up for them. They then show up to back her up. They don't even do anything, they just stand there. But that's all Oracle needed. This thematically ties together nicely and ends well. But I kinda hate it, too. Spy Smasher's whole deal, her actual honest-to-God way of being a threat, isn't in a fistfight. It's in the contacts she has in the various governmental agencies throughout the world. It's the information she can get access to and then act upon, like the loved one and family members of who she threatens. And yes, kidnapping or threatening or killing U.S. citizens is probably a bit dark, but Spy Smasher's behavior leads me to believe that she isn't above doing such a thing. She could easily make all of these people's lives a living hell, but this ending doesn't resolve that threat. Spy is still out there, now hurt and angry and jealous. Of course, that might be the point. Just because Simone is ending this story doesn't mean that DC is done with Spy Smasher. She could always return and, if allied with the right people, could form quite the opposing team to the birds. Perhaps Simone wanted to leave her in a place where she could come back, but it still feels too easy to me. This is also Simone's last issue of BOP, so I'm wondering if maybe she was wrapping things up so that incoming author Tony Bedard didn't have to finish plot lines that he hadn't been writing. That is a distinct possibility. So anyway, later that night, Oracle, Black Canary, Huntress, and Zinda are sitting around eating Chinese takeout, sharing old stories like friends do. Those stories quickly shift to new rumors, including the Green Arrow proposing to Black Canary. Ooh! The proposal happened, but Canary isn't sure if she'll accept it yet. She does love Ollie. Green Arrow's real name is Oliver Queen, for those who don't know, but the couple is just so different. Sometimes it's like they both want different things at the same time, and she just isn't sure if marrying him is a good idea. Dinah, aka Black Canary, notices Zinda's dour expression. She feels like this is the last time they'll all be together like this, as friends and teammates. Oracle doesn't agree with that sentiment at all. The women hug, as Oracle thanks them for being there for her. Dinah and Helena are going dancing after this, and they invite Oracle along. She does appreciate the offer, but she turns them down. She has an errand to run. Man, how on the nose can you get? Zinda pretty much speaks for author Gail Simone here. In some ways, hopefully small, these characters will all be different and grow under their incoming author. Plus, with Dinah featuring in Justice League and potentially marrying Green Arrow, she's going to definitely be pulled in her own direction. But then we have Oracle playing kind of like devil's advocate. They might separate for a while, but they can always come back together. I kind of feel like this is also Simone talking to the characters, reassuring herself that maybe she's leaving now, but that doesn't mean she's gone forever. This is the last issue that Simone writes of this volume, but there's a chance that she could return. And actually she does in January of 2010 when the book relaunched, so that's pretty awesome. The rest of the issue explores a small bit of information that Spy Smasher had gotten regarding Misfit. When the spunky teenager first appeared, she made all kinds of "I'm trying way too hard to be cool" type of comments. Stuff like being the most popular girl in school, or her mom is a movie star and they live in a mansion, aren't I cool, shouldn't you like me? Truth is, Misfit's last home is now a burned out ruin in one of Metropolis's slums. Oracle stares at the building and suddenly Misfit is there next to her. She relates what happened. She knew that she had powers, teleporting and some kind of healing factor, but her dad was out of the picture and Mom was kind of freaked out about her powers. One day there was a fire. The whole apartment building went up. The only way out was to teleport, but Misfit can't take others with her. Her mom screamed for her to go, so she did. Now she has no place to go. Even the birds probably don't want her after she lied to them, right? Oracle looks at the girl. She started the birds to help people. Originally, she meant herself, sure, and Huntress eventually. But now here's this girl who has nothing. If she can't help her, doesn't that make everything else she's done pointless? She isn't Spy Smasher or Batman, controlling others through fear. She's Oracle. She helps people and gives them hope. And she offers Misfit a home with her. I won't lie. I think Misfit is generally annoying. She's loud, invasive, has no sense of tact or self-awareness, and is exactly the kind of teen that I'd have avoided in high school. But she's also smart, brave, and looking for a family and home. She needs help, and I'm glad that Oracle offers it. Given the imminent author change, it does feel a bit weird to add a new cast member right at this moment. This makes me feel like Simone wasn't wrapping things up for Bedard. Otherwise, why add Misfit in? I think she was just finishing up her storyline with Spy Smasher the way that she wanted to. She isn't trying to set things up or wrap things up. She's just writing her goodbye to a book and a cast that she loves. So welcome to Birds of Prey, Tony Bedard. Don't screw it up. Issue 109 may have a new author, but it still features Nicola Scott's pencils and Doug Hazelwood's inks. We immediately start on something of a sour note to me. We're talking about the Green Arrow and his will they won't they status with Dinah. And this only bothers me because Dinah kind of covered this already at the end of last issue. She isn't sure, she hasn't decided yet. Whether she changes her mind or not should be addressed in whatever title she regularly appears in, not one that she's visiting. But that's what we're doing anyways, so let's do it. Oracle relates the first time she met Green Arrow. He was in Gotham, doing the superhero thing, and Batgirl had gotten word. So she decided to shoo him off before Batman could complicate matters. Appreciating the help of a pretty woman, Green Arrow flirts and tries to sweep Barbara off her feet. But as he leans in, eyes closed, she bursts out laughing. His cologne reminds her of her dad, who actually wouldn't appreciate his smarm. The mood shifts drastically, Green Arrow backing off fast. The flashback ends, shifting us to Dinah and Barb having dinner. Dinah is a little annoyed at the story. Barbara never mentioned that one before. And sure, Barbara figured that it might upset Dinah, but that's the point. Ollie has asked Dinah to marry him. Barbara considers it her duty as a friend to try to talk her out of it. Uh-oh. Barbara and Dinah's narrative is the A story of this particular issue. The B story is that of Knockout and Barda. Knockout and Scandal are resting after a particularly violent bout of lovemaking at some roadside motel. They're happy to have time to themselves now that the six are breaking up. Knockout says that Catman has gone soft, Deadshot ran back to the Suicide Squad, and Harley quit. But so long as Knockout has Scandal, she has everything that she needs. Scandal is glad to hear it. She thought that Knockout didn't even notice when she was shot because she was getting beaten so badly by Barda. The warm air of love sweeps, right out of the room. What? Is that what she thinks? That Barda, that disgrace, managed to beat her? How dare Scandal suggest that she's even anything like Knockout's equal? Scandal's really thrown by this. She was just joking. She didn't mean anything by it. Knockout throws some clothes on and storms out, punting over a cop car that was investigating their activities? When Scandal asks after where she's going, Knockout replies that she's going to shove that mega rod down Barda's throat. She tears off the bandage that's on her arm, now healed after being broken during that fight. I have some mixed feelings during this scene. First off, I don't like hearing that the Six are breaking up. I looked into Deadshot's return to the Suicide Squad, and yep, sure enough, there is a Squad miniseries that was released around this time that has Deadshot in it. I don't have it, nor do I plan to, and I'll get into the why of that later. Secondly, I don't like Knockout disparaging the others. There's been no indication that Knockout harbored negative feelings about the rest of the team. I mean, hell, she called them all true friends when they rescued Scandal from her father. Yes, there is a moment where Knockout calls out Catman for his mercy, but it doesn't come across like she resented him for it, just something she didn't approve of. I can't really comment about how she felt about Harley because they never got a scene together. I can buy Harley being annoying, though. Thirdly, I actually like the misunderstanding here. We've seen the social differences leading to problems between these two before, like in last episode, so I can get behind this basic idea. But Barda and Knockout seem to have reached a peace of some kind in issue 107. Barda calls Knockout a sister, so this vehement reaction feels out of place. Plus, Knockout did totally ignore Scandal being shot. I know that she has a healing factor, but that's still a dangerous wound. But Knockout didn't even react. It was like she didn't care. As a toxic, unhealthy behavior that needs to be addressed, I like it. As a justified complaint on Knockout's part, I'm annoyed. Finally, and yeah, this is a small thing, when Knockout tears off her bandage, she also pumps her muscle. It makes it look like her bicep popped the bandage and that the only reason her hand is there is to catch it. It's just badass looking. In Metropolis, Barda is doing the same, removing the wrapping from her knee. She's on the phone with her husband, Scott Free. You see, Barda and Scott are both new gods. They were raised on Apocalypse, fell in love, escaped, and came to Earth where they live as superheroes. But it turns out that someone is moving around the DC universe and has been killing new gods. So Scott is a bit worried about his wife. As a battle-hardened warrior, Barda's more worried about him. Misfit interrupts the phone call, so Barda hangs up. She was asked to babysit Dinah's ward, a little girl named Sin. Yeah, that's right. So she and Babs could talk. But as Misfit rambles, Barda blocks her out. She leans over and stares at Sin. Then she presents the Mega Rod. Sin presents a Charizard card, attacks a flamethrower, seismic toss, and hyper beam. Barda leans in at this. Attacks, you say? While I love the connection formed between these two women, my 14-year-old self can't stay quiet. That is not a Charizard picture, that's some kind of Sarah from the Land Before Time looking Triceratops. Plus, no Charizard card that I've ever seen has 3 attacks. I actually owned the OG Charizard holofoil, and it only had Fire Spin, the internet tells me. For those wondering, I traded it to my brother for all of his MC2 comics. Sucker. Barbara presents Sin as a reason why Dinah shouldn't marry Ollie. She left the birds to have a normal life. Marrying a superhero won't help that. And that's true, but the League needed her, and that's been going pretty well. A normal life is overrated anyway. Then Barbara brings up Ollie's past indiscretions. And Dinah knows that she's trying to help with this, but she's run those through her mind over and over again. Yes, he did cheat, but he paid for it too. Barbara then brings up how frustrating it is to watch him flirt with anything that moves when Dinah, the greatest woman of all, is right there. And Dinah can't argue with that. But she loves Ollie, no matter the reason, and she doesn't want to let her chance at happiness to pass by without even trying for it. She doesn't want to end up like Barbara and Nightwing. Barbara looks defeated. So she's going to say yes then? Dinah relays that she doesn't know. But if she does marry him, she wants her best friend there as her maid of honor. A tear runs down Barbara's cheek, but then Sin enters the room. Something bad has happened. This previous scene is a bit hard for me to judge. After all, I have no skin in this relationship. I've never read a comic with Black Canary and Green Arrow in it. I've never seen their relationship in action. Going into this, I'm a pretty blank slate. So should Dinah marry Ollie? I don't know. I know that if my best friend came to me with the same issues that Babs has Dinah, I would bear it some serious thought. Will Ollie be faithful after they marry? Can he be? Dinah seems willing to try this. I don't know if I could do that. Barbara's line about him not appreciating her feels very real to me. And I think it's totally possible to love someone who's bad for you, and that could totally be what's going on here. It doesn't help that this conversation doesn't sway Dinah one way or the other. Not only am I pretty impartial as to where this relationship should go, it's officially addressed in a separate miniseries. This whole conversation is a waste of space and just eats up the pages in Birds of Prey. Blech. So let's catch up with Sin's problem. She starts to teach Barda the basics of the Pokemon trading card game, unaware that a silhouetted figure watches from nearby. This man recognizes Barda, and knows that she's from Apocalypse. But Knockout slugs him one, claiming Barda as hers to defeat. That punch barely affects the man, which is saying something, and he stands back up. When he does, Knockout recognizes him. He says that he's actually here for her. Then a brilliant burst of light explodes off of him. The energy flash catches Barda, Misfit, and Sin's attention. Knockout leaps from the roof, trying to escape, but the killer manages to grab her by the hair. She asks for one chance to call her love, and Scandal answers. Then there's another flash of energy, and Knockout hits the ground. Barda orders Misfit to get down there. She teleports next to Knockout's lifeless body, a gaping hole burned into her chest. Once Barda sees it, she calls Scott. She's coming home. Scandal, who had driven into town to, I'm assuming, find her beloved, did just that. But she clearly isn't happy about that. And that's where this ends. No to be continued, no blurb for what's next. There's not even a good through line for me to follow as a fan of the Secret Six. You see, at the time, DC had been publishing a book called Countdown, which was a weekly title that was meant to lead into a bigger event called Final Crisis, helmed by author Grant Morrison. So any attempt I could make to follow these characters just drags me deeper and deeper into a hole. Want to see Deadshot's story between volumes? Buy Suicide Squad, which then means buying Countdown. Want to see Scandal's reaction to Knockout's death? Buy a single issue of Checkmate, then the Salvation Run miniseries, then the Final Crisis event. Want to know who killed Knockout? Buy the Death of the New God series, which ties into Countdown, which then launches Final Crisis. And it means that this issue of Birds of Prey is a 22-page long advertisement for other books. And it does a crap job of getting us there. When Scott mentions Light Ray being killed, there's no editorial note directing me towards where that happened. There's no specific narrative pushing this forward, it just feels like a cheap ad. This is not a good way to do a crossover, or at least a lead-in to another book. Rather than invest me in anything, it's just made me frustrated and annoyed. And what a crap thing to do, killing Knockout just as soon as Simone is no longer writing her. And I know that this wasn't personal. Author Jim Starlin was killing all of the New Gods over in that book, but come on, man. And to kill her in an issue where she just had a fight with Scandal. Why would you do that? That's just mean, and I don't like it. Breathe, Ben, breathe. Serenity now, Firefly later. Serenity now, Firefly later. This moment is the second reason why I had to get this particular story arc. I came into the Secret Six ongoing series late, so there's little mention of Knockout eventually, but her death does cast a long shadow at the beginning of the book, as we will soon see. Without these issues of Birds of Prey, there's no context for that, and I had a pretty tough time following that my first time through. And while I'd argue that this death is super unsatisfying, both personally and from a storytelling perspective, I can't deny the impact that it had on the Six in general, and Scandal in particular. Oh, I'm so sorry, Scandal. Right up until this development, I'd have said that this arc was solid fun for the Six. They look gorgeous, they're funny and interesting and complicated, and they give a pretty good show when in combat. Naturally, this isn't their story, they don't star in this narrative, and it does feel this way, but they do make fun guest stars. And at a time when the Six didn't have their own book, this is a welcome story. I don't think that Harley Quinn was a good addition for this, but she also quits pretty fast, so that's no big deal. And I hate the killing of Knockout, just flat out hate it. I don't care about what Starlin or Morrison were doing over in their big event books. I care about Scandal and Knockout, and you just crapped all over that, DC. Crapped on it. It does intrigue me that Villains United did a much better job of investing me in its overall mysteries. I mean, you guys heard me, I actually considered buying all of that. But here, with Countdown and Final Crisis and all the other tie-ins, I'm just more annoyed than I am interested. The fact that Villains United had 7 issues to draw me in probably helped, while here I'm only getting 1 issue. I feel like 1 issue of Villains United is still better overall than this single issue, but hey, what can you do? This book is over a decade old at this point, been long done for a while now. I do have to give this arc pretty good credit for drawing me into the story of the Birds of Prey, though. I kinda want to work backwards from here and get the whole dang book. Maybe someday. DC and I are on pretty good terms these days, but that's still more of a commitment than I want out of this relationship. Until that day, though, we have more Secret Six to uncover. So join me in a week as we finally start the Secret Six ongoing series. I'll be covering the first 7 issues in a little arc called Unhinged. 7 issues? Oh, Mrs. Simone, could you maybe do a 4-parter? These epics are killing me. Everyone, there are a million podcasts vying for your time and attention, and I'd like to thank you for listening to mine. If you would like to get in touch with me, to share a concern, request a series, compliment me, berate me, whatever you like, send me an email at cbbreakdown@gmail.com. Otherwise, thanks for listening.